Hi everyone, welcome to Bangalore Django user group. I'm Arul Murugan and today we are going to explore about developing Django applications using Eclipse, which is a popular open source IDE. So I'm developing Django applications for the past 2 years and I have been using Eclipse all the times. And using Eclipse for developing Django applications will be very helpful. So let us start the session now. So for in this session, we are going to see about Eclipse, and you need to have how to your a basic knowledge on Django. That is how to create a project, how to create an application in Django, and everything about it. And you can download the Eclipse from eclipse.org website, and you need an internet connection to install the plugins required for developing Django applications. And of course, you need to have some interest to learn these things. So what we will learn in this session is, first we are going to learn how to configure Eclipse for developing Django applications, and how we are going to perform the Django commands using the menu in Eclipse, that is start project, start app, and manage.py commands that comes with Django. And after that, we are going to see how to debug Django applications using Eclipse debug mode. Uh, so after learning how to debug Django applications using Eclipse, we are going to see how to use Git in Eclipse, that is the source code management software, how to use it in Eclipse. And after that, we will see some important keyboard shortcuts in Eclipse. So PyDev is the plugin which will be used for Python development in Eclipse. So it can be used for Python, Jython, or IronPython, and it can be downloaded from pydev.org/updates. This website is having the latest version of PyDev. You can download it from there. And now let me show a demo of how to install PyDev in Eclipse. As you can see, I have downloaded the latest version of Eclipse from the Eclipse website, and I have extracted the file here. And I have opened the Eclipse now. I'm opening the Eclipse now. So there will be a lot of versions available in the Eclipse website. That is for a Linux machine and for a Windows machine, there is a lot of versions. You can download whichever is applicable for you. So Kepler is the latest version of Eclipse. So we have opened the Eclipse, and we are going to install the PyDev plugin, which is required for developing Django applications. So for that, you need to go to the help menu and then click on install new software. Here we are going to install the application from the PyDev site. So I'm going to add a site to get the software. Type the name as PyDev, and as I told you before, you can get this PyDev plugin from the website pydev.org/updates. So I'm adding this site here. When you add the site, as you can see in the right lower corner of the screen, it is processing the website. And once it is processed, you will be getting the plugins here. So it is showing two plugins, that is PyDev and PyDev Mylin integration, which is an optional one. So I'm going to install PyDev alone, which is required for developing Django applications. So the installation of PyDev will take some time. And if you are unable to install this plugin from the PyDev website using the install new software option, you can download the plugin. That is, you could download this PyDev plugin as a zip file, extract the contents of this file, and you can place the contents in this folder. That is drop-ins, which is in the Eclipse installation folder. This will also work. So after installing the PyDev plugin, we need to create a perspective which will tell where the Django is installed, which Python installation we should use. For example, if you're having multiple virtual environments in your system, you could create a perspective which is corresponding to a virtual environment. So it is asking for a certificate verification, and I'm clicking OK to accept that. So we have now installed the PyDev plugin, and for the installation to take effect, we need to restart Eclipse. So I'm restarting now. So the Eclipse is opening after the PyDev has been installed. And we need to switch the perspective to PyDev for developing Django applications. So I'm going to the window menu, and in open perspective, I'm selecting PyDev. As you can see here, there is a package explorer which is from PyDev. And for creating a Django application, as I told you before, we need to define a Python interpreter which should be having Django installed. So I have a interpreter, a virtual environment which is having Django installed already. So I'm going to define the interpreter now. So I'm going to Window, then Preferences, and selecting PyDev. As you can see here, it supports IronPython, Python, and Jython. So I'm going to select Python, and defining a new Python interpreter here. I'm going to name it as a demo, and we need to select the Python executable file. So I'm just selecting the executable now. So which is the Python 2.7. As you can see here, it is having all the tools installed, example setup tools and pip. Also I have installed Django and some other third-party apps also. So we have now configured an interpreter. I'm just applying the changes. So we have now defined our own Python interpreter. So now we can create a new project from here, and in the you have to right click in the PyDev package explorer for creating new project, or you could do it from the file menu also. So I'm going to create a project, and for creating projects, you are getting a lot of options for like a Java project or a plugin project. But what we need to select is a PyDev Django project under PyDev. So I'm naming this application as PyDemo, and as you can see, it is asking us to select the Python version which we are going to use, and it defaults to Python 2.7, and I'm leaving it unchanged. And you can select your interpreter here. If you're having more than one Python interpreter defined in your Eclipse, you could select your interpreter which should be used for your Django project. So I'm creating it again. I think there must be some issue with this new version of Eclipse. Let me switch over to the old version, which will be without any problems, I think. So I will show a demo using the Indigo version of Eclipse. So I have installed PyDev in this version already, so I'm just going to create a new project right away. So I'm going to new and create a project. So in this, I'm selecting PyDev Django project, and as I told you before, I'm going to name this application as PyDemo. So I have defined three interpreters here, as you can see: DJ15, VCG, and WC. The purpose of having different Python interpreters is you can use multiple version of Django. For example, in DJ15 I have installed Django 1.5, and in VCG I have installed 1.4.3, and in WC I have installed Django 1.3.1. So it will help us to manage our Django versions easily. So I'm selecting DJ15, which is Django 1.5.1. So here we need to specify the database settings of our Django project, which Django version we are going to use, and what is the database engine. That is, for example, you can use SQLite 3 or MySQL or Oracle, or you can just use any other database engine, but I'm going to use MySQL, and I'm naming my application's database as PyDemo, and supply your database username, MySQL username and password here. So I have finished it. As you can see in the left side panel, that is the PyDev package explorer, the application PyDemo is created, which is a Django project, and you can see the manage.py and settings.py, all other Django default files are created. So it is very easy to create a Django project using Eclipse. So we have now created a Django project, and we are going to enable the admin for this application. So as you can see here, the database names are already here, which I have given earlier while creating the application. So I'm just going to install the apps and enabling the admin. Also, I'm enabling the URL for admin side of Django. So we have now created a Django project and enabled admin in this. And after this, If you want to create a Django module that is which will use a startup command, you can do this by right clicking on the project, and you can see the menu Django in this right click menu, context menu. And when you go to Django, you have a lot of options there. That is for running. The first option is for running a custom manage.py command. For example, you could run python manage.py dump data, python manage.py create super user. You could run any python manage.py commands here. And the second command is for synchronizing your database, that is the syncdb command. And the third command is for testing your application, that is manage.py test. The fourth one is shell with Django environment, that is the Python shell you can open with python manage.py shell, which could be integrated with your Django environment. So we have a option to create a application in your Django project, that is a create application. So I'm creating an application now, and I'm naming this application as accounts. So as you can see, that is a application created in this Django project, and it is having models.py, test.py, and views.py as usual. So creating applications and everything is very easy when you're using Eclipse for Django. So we have created an Django project and application inside that. Let us create a database for this application now. I have specified the database name as PyDemo in our application, so I'm using the same name here. So I have created a database. Now we have to do the syncdb for creating the tables for this Django application. So what I'm going to do is I'm just right clicking on this Django project and go to Django menu and select the syncdb option. As you can see here, there is a console opening up and doing all the syncdb process in this window. So you don't have to go to the terminal for doing this operation every time. So I don't want to create a super user now, so I'm just entering no. So we have now synchronized all the database tables, and all the database tables for this Django project are created now. So let us try to create a template and a view in this application. So I'm creating a view here. As you can see, as I type, you will get the auto suggestions from Eclipse. It will be so helpful. And if you want auto suggestions in all parts, for example, when I type DJ, it is not showing any auto completion in Eclipse. If I want to know what are the options available after this, I just have to press Control plus space. If I press Control space, I will get what are all the options available in Eclipse. That is, the auto completion will work here and it will suggest you. And you can select the options from this menu. So the auto completion will be very helpful. It will give you the all available options which you can import from the modules. So I'm creating a view named my view here. So in this place also you can use the auto completion feature of Django. I have typed the word written. After this I just press Control plus space and you will get all the available options. So I'm just typing RE and it is showing everything starting with RE, and I'm going to select render to response from this menu. So we have now created a dummy view here, a simple view. I'm just going to specify an URL pattern for this view. So I have defined the URL and I need to specify the path of the view. So it is in accounts.views.my view. So we have specified it, but we haven't defined a template now. So what we need to do is we are going to define the template directory setting here. Instead of hard-coded value, I'm going to get the current directory name, that is the path of the current directory, and I'm going to append the template directory name there, so it will be easy to use this application in any environment. Even if you copy this application to some other environment, you can run it without any issues. So I'm just creating a variable project path. So I have created the project path now, and I can use this to specify the location of the template directory. As you can see, Django will be suggesting for all the Python and Django modules. So it will be easy when you type your code. The auto completion will be very helpful for you. So I have defined the template folder as templates. So I'm creating a new folder now. And as we have specified in our view, we need to create a HTML file which is index.html. And so I'm creating a template now. As you can see, I have opened Anglet with for typing a HTML code, and it is suggesting we should start with a HTML tag. So this is the power of Eclipse for developing Django applications, and even for HTML, this auto completion is working. That is very helpful to us. As you can see, it is giving list of all the HTML tags so that we can select one from this menu. And when you go into the head section of your HTML document, it is suggesting only the tags that can be used within the head section. So this will be very helpful for identifying which tags we can use in this section. So I'm just typing a title here, and after that I'm creating a content section, that is the body section for this HTML document. I'm just typing it is demo page, the content of the page, and I want to give an ID to this h1 tag, and if I press control space, you can get a list of attributes that can be used with this HTML tag. So these are all the attributes that can be specified in this HTML tag, and this auto completion will be very helpful for you. So I am selecting an ID here, and if I type I and press control space, it will give you the suggestion. So we have now created a simple view with a HTML page. So let us run the application from now. As you can see, there is a run option for this Django project, and in this run as section, there is an option PyDev Django. I'm selecting this one, and as you can see, the application tried to run, but there was a problem that is saying the port is already in use. Let me free up the port so that we can use it. As you can see, there is a process running on the port 8000 already there. So I'm just killing the process. I'm running the project again. So as you can see now, our Django project is running up and running in the IP address 127.0.0.1:8000, which is the default port for the running Django applications. So I'm opening up the Django application here. So as we have enabled the Django admin, as you can see here, the URLs are getting passed and the GET requests are being processed here. So it will be easy for you to see the server details, that is the print statements you have included in your views, or all other debugging information here in all in one screen along with your code. I forgot to mention the port number here, sorry. I have created the templates folder in the wrong place, that is in the accounts folder, but that should be within the PyDemo folder. As you can see, we are seeing the template we have created, that is the index.html, the h1 tag with the content demo page, which I have defined here. So we have an application up and running now. So that's how we have configured Eclipse for running a Django application. And the next feature in Eclipses, as I have told you before, you can run all the commands as menu. That is the start project, start app, syncdb, shell, and every other manage.py commands as menu you can run in the Eclipse. And the shell for this Django application will be more interactive than the shell which you are using in the terminal. I'm opening up the shell now. So I'm just right clicking on the Django project, and under the Django menu, I'm selecting shell with Django environment. For the first time, it will ask you to confirm the settings module that should be used. So I'm selecting the pydemo.settings. As you can see, the shell is up and running now. The important feature in this Python shell is you will get auto completion from here also. So as I told you before, if you press Control Space, you will get all the auto completion options, and this feature will not be available in your regular Python shell. So it will be easier for you to work out things. For example, if you want to try out a Python function, this auto completion will be very helpful to import the built-in modules of Python or Django. So this is how you can use the shell in Eclipse for Django applications. The another one of the most important feature of Django in Eclipse is Django debugging. For debugging your applications, there is a debugger that comes pre-installed with the PyDev. As you can see in the right top corner, there is a perspective called debug. The PyDev perspective is used for developing Django applications, and the debug perspective can be used for debugging your Django application. If you face any errors, you can debug the application using this debug perspective. Let me add some more code to the simple view we have created so that it will be easy for us to debug the application. So I'm just creating a bunch of variables here, which could be a is equal to range of 1 to 10, which will be a list containing 0 to 9, and I'm creating b as a string, and c as a integer. So we now have a bunch of variables in this uh, simple view. So for debugging our Django application, we need to create a breakpoint, that is from which place we need to perform the debug operations. We need to specify the location for that. For creating a breakpoint, you could simply double click the grayed out bar in the left side corner of your screen. It will create a PyDev breakpoint. As you can see, I have created one. Or you could right click on this bar and you can see the option add breakpoint. You could use that as well. So that will also create a breakpoint. So I have now created a breakpoint here. So I'm switching to the debug mode. As you can see, you are having your code right here, and for there is a console for running your applications, and in the outline view you will get what are the functions imported into your views and what are the views you have defined. And in the top you will get the variables and breakpoints for what are the breakpoints you have defined in the whole Django applications. So I'm running this application now. For running the application in debug mode, just right click on the Django application, and from the debug as option select PyDev Django. As you can see, the PyDev debugger is started now and it is running in the regular IP address of the application. So let us switch to the debug mode now. So as you can see, I have specified a breakpoint before the template is being called. So what we should get is this breakpoint should be called when we run the corresponding URL of this view. So I am switching to the browser. So I'm just going to refresh this page, and as you can see, the Eclipse icon pops out, and the breakpoint has been called, and the request is being still processing. It is still under process. That is, the template has not been called. It is still under process in this line, and you can see in the variables what are all the variables that I'm getting in this page. That is the request variables, global variables, what are that? And in the request there will be the query dict and cookie information, everything will be there. So if you press, there are 4 shortcuts for debugging in Eclipse. The shortcuts are F5, F6, F7 and F8. These 4 keys will be used during the debug process, and the F5 will execute the next step in your program. It will call the breakpoint and execute step by step. For example, if outside function is called, your code will jump to the associated code, and you can see the function, what are all the functions which are called in your views. And F6 will step over the call but will not open the associated code. It will just keep on running your code. And F7 will leave the current code and go to the functions which are being called in our breakpoints. And F8 will switch to the next breakpoint. If you're having multiple breakpoints defined in your application, you can move along the breakpoints using the F8 key. So I'm just showing the demo of F6 key, sorry, F5 key now. So in this line, I have defined a range function here, which is the Python built-in function. So when I press F5, you can see here a list is created for the variable A as I have specified here. So you can get the list of variables which are being created in this function. So as you have seen, we will be getting all the variables which are being processed, and we can switch to the functions. So let me run this page again, and I'm opening the debug view. If you have some external functions called here, you will be getting an overview of the function which is being called, and you will be seeing the associated code in the next steps we're using when you're using the F5 key for debugging. I will define a function in our Python code so that we can see whether how it is working. So I'm switching to the normal mode, and in accounts I'm creating another file which can be script.py. In the script.py, I'm defining a function which could return a list of prime numbers with the given range. So I'm returning the output as a list here. So for simplicity, I just return a list of numbers with the given range. So, and I'm going to call this function in our views. As you can see here, you will get auto completion not only for the built-in modules of Python and Django, but for the user created modules also the auto completion will work. So instead of using the range function, I am using the prime function which we have created in the script file. So let us run this application in debug mode now. So I have terminated it. I'm running the Django application again. So I have switched to the debug mode and we have a breakpoint set it up at the variable A. So Eclipse has been called and so I'm pressing F5 here. I'm going to run this again. As you can see, the breakpoint has been called and when I press F5, as you can see, it is opening the associated code. For example, we have set the breakpoint in the prime function of this view, and when we press F5, it is going to the location of the prime function so that we could inspect how the function is written and what are all the processes happening there. So this will be very helpful if you want to dig deeper and debug your Django applications, and this will be more helpful if your Django application is with some complex codings. And if you have defined multiple breakpoints, you can switch over through the breakpoints using the F8 key, as I have told before. So this is one of the main feature of Django in Eclipse, that is the debugging. So I'm just closing the debug mode now. And after the debugging, we are going to see about the Git support, as uh, Git is one of the important and most widely used open source code management software. And there is a plugin called eGit which will enable use of Git in Eclipse. That is the create, commit, push, pull, and every Git command can be Git operations can be performed from Eclipse itself without going to the command prompt and typing the commands. So let us go to the Eclipse installation and install this eGit plugin now. So I'm opening up the Eclipse, and as you all know, we are going to the install new software option from the help menu, and you can install the eGit application from either using this URL, that is download.eclipse.org/egit/updates, or you can install this plugin by selecting all available sites, and we need to wait till it is loaded here. It is taking much time, so let us try installing the plugin from the URL directly. So I have added the eGit download URL to this software section and it is being processed. For this plugin to work with your Eclipse installation, you should be having Git installed in your system. And the methods we have seen till now will be common for whatever version of Eclipse you are using and whatever operating system you are using. There seems to be some error with the server and okay, let us skip the installation part for now. The installation will be more similar to what we have done for installing PyDev, and after installing eGit you will be getting the option to synchronize your project using Git. I will show a demo using the already installed one. So we have a Django application created here, and let me show you a demo using bitbucket.org, which is one of the famous Git hosting site. So I'm going to create a repository in Bitbucket for hosting our Django project, which we have created now. So I'm naming this as PyDemo, which is a Python based one. So I have created the empty repository now, but we need to push our code from our local system to the remote repository. So let us copy this URL for pushing the code. So what we do for pushing our code to a Git remote repository is we will be initiating a local repository and specifying the remote URL here and specify the branch name. We will be doing everything in the terminal usually, but what we are going to see now is we are going to do each and every operation in Eclipse itself without going to the terminal. So I'm right clicking on the Django project we have created, and in the option team from the menu we are going to select share project, and it is giving two options for you for selecting the repository type, CVS and Git. And as I told you before, we are going to use Git, so I have selected it and click next, and we are creating a new repository. So I'm going to name this repository PyDemo repo. So I have created this one. As you can see now, there is a repository initiated in our PyDemo Django project, but it is not merged into any branches. It is in a no-hit stage. So we are going to right-click on it and make a commit here. As you can see, as after creating a local Git repository, we are getting a lot of options in this team menu, like option to commit, option to push our code to remote repositories. So I'm committing this project. So I have selected all the files which are to be committed, and I'm mentioning the commit message as first commit. So we have now committed this, and after a commit, it is now showing a master branch which has been created after the commit. So what we have done is in a local repository now, but we need to push this code to the remote Git repository created in Bitbucket. So I'm going to team, and I'm going to push this project to a remote repository. So I'm selecting push from remote menu. So now it is asking for a URL for the remote repository. So I'm just pasting the URL which we have copied from the Bitbucket repository. So as we have pasted the URL here, it have automatically detected the host repository path and username and the protocol also. So I'm just going to specify my Bitbucket password here. So it is getting the information for branches available. So I'm going to push the master branch. So I'm selecting master, and I want this to be master in the remote repository also. So I'm adding this. So as you can see now, the code is being pushed to the remote repository now. So a new branch has been created in the remote repository called master. So let us check whether this code has been pushed into the remote repository. So let me refresh this repository page. As you can see here, the commit we have created in the local repository has been pushed to the remote repository from Eclipse itself. So we don't have to type any commands or remember any commands for committing on pushing our changes to the Bitbucket repository. We can do this everything using these menus available in Eclipse using the eGit plugin. And if we modify anything in this code, for example, I'm just make some modifications in this view. So I have made a modification in this code. As you can see there is an arrow before this file which is showing that a modification has been made to this file, which is different from the master repository. And if you add a new file, that will also be shown here with a question mark symbol before the file name. So I'm just creating a file called demo.py. As you can see in the icon of the file, there is a small question mark which specifies that this is a new file which is yet to be added to the repository. So this will be easy for us to track the changes and what are all the changes we have made, and what are all the new files we have created. And there is another perspective called synchronize, which will be more detailed for exploring our Git repository. For going to that perspective, I'm just going to right click on this, go to team and select synchronize workspace. And in this synchronize perspective, you will get only the list of files which are newly added and what are all the files we have changed, so that it will be easy for us to track the changes we have made from the repository. So I can now right click on this, and commit the files which have been added. So there is an untracked file which is in demo.py, which is a new one. So I'm going to add this file to disk index. So I have created a commit now. So let us push the commit to the repository now. As you can see here, there is an option for pulling the changes to your local repository if there is any change from remote repository. So I'm typing my Bitbucket password. So like this, you can commit and push your changes to the Bitbucket repository, or you can use this with GitHub or any other Git hosting service you are using. So we have now completed the Django debugging and Eclipse configuration for Django, and we have also seen how to use Git with Eclipse. Now I will show you some of the important shortcuts which will help you for in using Eclipse. The shortcut Control 3. Uh, One second, please. I have made some modifications in the key bindings, so I'm just restoring the defaults. Here, there is a shortcut for Control E, which will help you to navigate through the open windows, that is the editors which are currently opened, and it will be helpful to select your editor. And Control F8 can be used to switch between perspectives. So we have opened PyDev perspective, team synchronizing, and debug. So this on pressing Control 8, you will get a list of perspectives, so that we can select one here. So Control Page Up and Control Page Down can also be used for navigation, navigating through the currently opened editors. And if there is some formatting which you have to do, if the code is not perfectly aligned, uh, you can use the Control Shift F can be used for aligning the code. As you can see, I have modified this, and the alignment is not perfect now. If you press Control Shift F, the code will be aligned automatically. So this will be very handy when you want to align your code. And if you want to move your current line up, you can use Alt up Alt up will move your current line upwards by one line for every key press, and Alt down will move your current line to downwards. And control plus up arrow and down arrow can be used to scroll through the page, and control D can be used to delete the current line. So there are another bunch of shortcuts which are shift enter, which can be used to create a new line next to the current line. For example, if I'm in the beginning of this line and I want to create a new line next to that, I could press shift enter, which will create a new line irrespective of the cursor position in the previous line. And for doing this, if you want to create a new line above the current line, you can use control shift enter. And as I told you before, control space can be used for code assist or code completion, and control shift X and Y can be used for changing the case of the selected string. For example, I'm selecting this, and if I press control shift X, it will be converted to uppercase, and control shift Y will convert it to lowercase. And for control shift this will be very handy when you want to open some of the files. If I press control shift R and type settings, you will be getting the list of file which are starting with the given string. So these shortcuts will help you when you are using Eclipse for Django development. And thank you. We have explored how to configure Django for Eclipse for using creating Django applications, and how to use Git in Eclipse. I will be sharing this presentation in slideshare.net, and this session has been recorded in the YouTube, and the video and the slideshare URLs will be shared in the meetup comment section. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section of meetup. And we are looking for volunteers in our Bangalore Django user group. And if you want to propose any sessions in Bangalore Django user group, please contact us through Meetup or through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. Thank you for watching this session.